Would Star Citizen have been better off with the original vision, or is it headed to a better place now? This is a document detailing the vision of Star Citizen circa 2012. It talks about instanced space travel, loading screen ship flight segments, and complete lack of explorable planets. Many things have changed since then, and the experience players currently have access to is not becoming the one that was pitched in 2012. Has this long road of engine development and scope creep saved us from a game that would not have lasted, similarly restricted like Starfield ended up being, or did it rob us of a better, albeit more simple experience? Something we would have been playing for years now and looking towards a sequel. Today I'm going to touch on the 5 biggest differences between the game that was originally envisioned and the game being built right now. We'll take a look at what could have been and why you might like what's actually being built now more. If you'd like to see more of these timed exclusive right when they're published, you can support us on Patreon or YouTube. Otherwise, thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk.
We are back online, at least live stream. We are checking Twitch. Twitch seems to be okay. YouTube, what does YouTube say? YouTube also, where is YouTube? Where's the YouTube windows? Oh, here. All right, so everything is green. Everything is what we have on screen right now. We are listening to Star Citizen Tomato Talk. We wouldn't say that he's a shiller, but he's, yeah, every now and then we are listening to what he has to say and to offer. And this is a video on his Space Tomato Gaming channel on YouTube that he published 4 days ago. It was for members first, and now it's publicly. So Star Citizen then versus now, how the promise changed. We just listen, but before we start listening, we are here at our usual place, Arbitrary. And no, Arbitrary is still not our primary location, and the main reason why not, it is we do not want to have too much stuff here in the inventory because we do not feel home at Arbitrary. But yes, of course, it is our main hub of our actions, especially our trade hub, if you will. And yeah, we do trading, of course. We just check inventory. We have no boxes up here at Arbitrary. That means we will go find out what ship is available. The Asgard should be available here, so we will bring definitely a batch of commodities from Shepard's Rest up to here, and then we will see how far we came. The video we are about to listen to from Space Tomato is 20 minutes, and we will see how far we get with 20 minutes inside Star Citizen. We started right now, we do not count from here, but yeah, we see Asgard is here. Let's see what kind of equipment we have here. We have tractor beam, we got a gun for self-defense and ammo. Should be the P8, yeah, P8. Perfect. So we can defend ourselves. The ship is here, and we will go to Shepard's Rest and we'll listen to Space Tomato.
The first major difference in what we're seeing built and what was originally pitched is this word. Would Star Citizen have been better off with the original vision, or is it headed to a better place now? This is a document detailing the vision of Star Citizen circa 2012. It talks about instanced space travel, loading screen ship flight segments, and complete lack of explorable planets. Many things have changed since then, and the experience players currently have access to is not becoming the one that was pitched in 2012. Has this long road of engine development and scope creep saved us from a game that would not have lasted, similarly restricted like Starfield ended up being, or did it rob us of a better, albeit more simple experience? Something we would have been playing for years now and looking towards a sequel. Today I'm going to touch on the 5 biggest differences between the game that was originally envisioned and the game being built right now. We'll take a look at what could have been and why you might like what's actually being built now more. If you'd like to see more of these timed exclusive right when they're published, you can support us on Patreon or YouTube. Otherwise, thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk.
Yeah, my Tomato Talk.
The first major difference in what we're seeing built and what was originally pitched is this word, this very contentious word. Instancing is a very common technology used in MMOs that allows for more controlled environments outside of the general sandbox. Back in 2012, when this was all pitched, that sandbox didn't really exist. Instead, it was a series of instances that would determine encounters with pirates, fleets of ships, cargo haulers in distress, and other possible points of interest. This latter part is still true. We know that probability volumes will create the chance to encounter haulers, security, pirates, or any combination of them around points of interest based on the local conditions. But when you take off to fly to another location, say flying from Pyro to RATHON, right now the trip is completely seamless. You jump from location to location, stopping off whenever and wherever you like until you reach your destination. While you are being passed between servers, this isn't really a noticeable experience and is quite different from before. Back then, Chris Roberts, the creator of Star Citizen, claimed that the magic of its multiplayer design was how the persistent universe would be combined with a more traditional, temporary, multiplayer battle instance. This would allow a persistent universe layer to matchmake you into instances based on your PvP preferences, your friends list, and what pirates are active where. This is meant to give players a more solo and controllable experience, something that we'll talk about a little bit later. Basically, when you flew from Pyro to RATHON, you would be placed into a universe instance that ran through the possibility of these encounters. If you passed with none, you'd spawn inside of an orbital instance over RATHON. In this location, you'd be able to fly around looking at RATHON in the distance and possibly visiting a space station. If all existing orbital instances are full, a new one would then be created and filled with separate players based on rules again, like friends list, usual players, and danger levels. While this is similar to the planned dynamic server meshing of today, these instances would have resulted in players being split up as they arrive to locations, even in space. There's no knowing what size these instances could have been, but they certainly wouldn't have been able to handle the amount of players that Star Citizen is currently aiming for with dynamic server meshing, which should theoretically allow for dozens if not hundreds of people to all be around a planet in the same shard. This instance design would also allow players to pursue a more insular, solo-type game experience where they'd determine less players to be in any instances that they happened upon. It would also allow players to Agent Smith their way into NPCs in their friends' instances so that you could easily pick up and quickly play some multiplayer without being able to teleport your character all the way across the galaxy. Both of these things are no longer planned. That more closed-off design would have led to the general understanding of locations differing between players quite a bit, a small but noticeable consequence of the fact that every person would see a different orbit of RATHON based on their preferences, their PvP rules, their friends list, their danger levels. We wouldn't really have as universal understanding of what every place signifies in terms of danger or design. And agent smithing hasn't been mentioned in years. All of these ideas generally started shifting as server meshing began popping up as a topic around 2016 or so, right as planets became a reality in-game. But anyways, after arriving in orbit, you would signal to the game that you wanted to descend down to the planet of RATHON.
Tower, this is commercial vessel Calypso requesting EDL assistance.
Instead of flying down like we do in the game now, a cutscene would play as the game figures out a city instance for you to load into, based again on your friends list and your preferences. As these city instances filled, just like with the orbital instances, others would be created that more players could join in on. From there, you could walk around the city, trade, find missions, and interact with others. But that was the only place on the planet that you could visit. No planetary exploration, no moon outposts, no distribution centers, no rivers, no lakes, no forests, no mountains. Just that city that you could land on in whatever planet you were flying over. It was a much more space-focused approach back then, based around the universe instance and what risks you came across while traveling through it. But large-scale events like the Daymar Rally, seamless travel around the universe, and relatively connected game space would not have been the case in an earlier Star Citizen. Now, instances are still used in Star Citizen. We'll see them in things like dungeons, or our own hangars and habs, and other places that may need more privacy, but each shard is completely seamless now in between those instances, whereas it originally was to be a series of instances from each location across the whole game. At the time of writing and releasing, currently shards are limited to about 500 to 600 people, but this is already likely much more than we would have seen, and even though the original idea still would have been connected in the back end altogether, the physical disconnect of the world, the differences between player experiences in certain locations, and the smaller amount of people able to see each other physically present, I think would have
we
definitely
moved all the
changed the way the
boxes.
game feels now.
When was it?
And
On
while
Sunday.
there was also mention of private servers
We
back then,
had
there's
somewhat
no
of an
doubt that
accidental
what I think is
meeting
most
with
likely
a,
is we see Arena
let's say,
Commander extend
brand
to
new
allow for all
player,
types of gameplay and closed off
and
portions of
he
different
wanted to
parts
have
of the
some,
persistent
not really
universe,
support, but
mining,
some kind of guidance
and
in doing something and making some money. And we said, yeah, I mean, a lot of people offered or maybe clickbaited in some way to join an org, join a Discord, or yeah, like the soul catchers usually do. And that's totally fine. I mean, if that would be, let's say, a sexual predatorial territory here, Star Citizen, and all the new players are young, and the old players are old, then we would say this is a paradise for pedophiles, but it is not. It is not age-related, but it's an interesting thing to observe when you are around here for a while. And so, yeah, we thought, okay, we had a lot of boxes here, not here in Shepard, but at Obituary. And we said, yeah, well, why not? We just wanted to have the last batch for last week from Shepard's Rest up to Obituary. And we did that before he arrived. We moved all the boxes up there, all beside Fresh Food. And that worked fine, and he showed up actually, imagine that. It looked like as if he's from Crusader, home location, and he managed, as a new player, we have no idea how new, but he managed to fly from Crusader to Pyro Gateway in his Titan, and flew over here to Obituary, and then from here we started loading the ship, the C2 from Nomadic, and then we moved the box over to Stanton. And the way he loaded the ship, without giving actually orders, or was that a lightning? Without giving proper instruction how to load the ship, he managed to load the ship properly, in the sense of the way we thought we want to have the ship loaded. The only one thing that what he didn't get at the beginning was create a rear wall, and we had reason the exact number of 2 SU boxes of sunset berries to create the rear wall in the Hall C. And he didn't somehow get the idea of the rear wall, but then we readjusted the boxes, and he noticed, he learned fast, he thinks, and he started continue loading the boxes according to the idea we had. We didn't really communicate, and that was a nice experience to have some sort of a new player knows how to do. We had it the same with Goose. Maybe you saw Goose in the friends list. He was the same type of guy. He was somewhat new in Star Citizen, and he helped us at this very place here, Shepard's Rest, loading the M2. Back then when we had the M2, but the overlords took it away. And he also knew how to load the ship without knowing Star Citizen as a video game to play with. But it's just like, this is an indication of what kind of people we are dealing with. People who are able to think, people who are willing to think, and in some way or form even or willing to work inside a so-called engineer. This is really interesting. Yeah, it was a nice experience with a new player. Don't even know if we have him now on the friends list, but yeah, he was patient and he held through. This is not usual that new players have the grind, the grit, and the consistency to hold through, to move. I mean, we overloaded the C2, fully gridded plus overloaded. That means 696 SUs gridded plus the middle section as well. No idea how many, but we would say 800 SUs in total, if not more. And he loaded the ship. I was in the Atlas and he was placing the boxes. It was a quick move. He was really quick. He was even quicker than I was with the Atlas, which was really interesting. And it was a joy. And we flew over to Stanton, unloaded Crew L4, went to Seraphim, unloaded Seraphim, went to Hurston, unloaded the fresh food on Hurston, and he helped all the way through, without complaining, without hesitation, without anything, up to the end. Yeah, and so he ended up with 1 million starter cap after this one session. That means he had 300. We gave him boxes. Each box we delivered, he got 1 box. With the hope or the idea that he didn't follow order, because we said sell the box. He did, of course, but with the idea that he didn't follow order, but actually looked at the terminal to notice what he is actually doing. He knew that he will sell box and he will get money, but we are not sure if he saw how much money these boxes gave him. For us it would be revenue, or is revenue. For him it was pure profit. And the idea would be to give him a taste to trade as well as we do. And we have a potential recruit. Yeah, that's the main goal, we would say. Why not, right? And yeah, we will have a check one day if he's on the list. And when we see him, I don't even know his name. When we see him, we will ask him. But it will take a while. Not sure how many times we can log into the verse this week. But in order to fill up the C2, it takes a while. It takes a while to get all the boxes. It takes a while to get the boxes up to obituary. And so we have no idea if we... meet him ever again. That would be great, of course. Yeah, that was just a short break. And we will actually give you the secret. It's not a secret, it's a business secret, if you will. How we make actually our money trading. How much effort it actually is to make that amount of money we make. Not sure if you noticed before when we had been on the terminal, but we can show you here. We have 32 mil, rounded up, 32 mil on our bank account. And at the end of this patch release, we want to have 100 mil. And it's not so that we will make... what is it, 70 mil now? No, we spent already money. Yeah, 800 SUs of money for what we already delivered, but not sold yet to Stanton. And we will go down to 0 again with our bank account. We will invest all the money we have in commodities and bring it to Stanton. And when we are at 0, we will go selling, no matter if we have already 600 of SUs. 600 SUs of all the commodities we are about to sell. Yeah. While we are traveling, we will tell you about the business secret.
Then there's the PvP system I kept mentioning. It is true that back in the day there was more of a focus on splitting the game up to create more personalized takes on the verse, focusing pretty heavily on making sure players would have a curated solo opportunity for them without needing to get more into the group gameplay style. For this reason, PvP was described as being largely optional. You'd be in danger at most times, but you'd be virtually untouched by that part of the game if you wanted it that way. This is obviously different today. While the current game is still a mess in terms of keeping players safe, we are looking at how the design of the game has changed. In this instance, PvP is no longer locked behind which instance you are in. Now, it is viewed much more organically, meant to be geographically directed rather than artificially. So, general areas like population centers around Orison, New Babbage, Area 18, or Lorville would be places of common safety from both players and NPCs. These would carry heavy fines and penalties for crime, completely OP defenses, which we're already starting to see at outposts, and a heavy population of people that are just looking to collect bounties if they show up. These are your safe areas, and while not 100% safe, because there is the option of using violence, using a tractor beam, or something else, those heavy consequences and risks, combined with the idea that if you die in one of these locations, you immediately respawn with no consequences, should mean we have virtually safe zones. But there is always still the option. Venturing out to areas like Grimhags or much of the Pyro system would leave you in a completely open environment where you still need to answer to the local NPC factions, but things will be played much more loosely. While this is crucial to the open connected universe and economy, there's no doubt this makes players in the game more open to conflict. But it's not just on the PvP side of things. In general, this creates a game where players will need to be more wary of where they go and what they bring there in order to play the game how they want. And on the flip side, this creates a system in which lawless players can more easily coordinate and attack non-player characters and ships as well. This also allows for interplayer functionality that's not combat focused. Tractor beaming, salvaging, and repairing other players all count as a PvP activity and may have to be limited in non-PvP spaces, creating a dilemma of how to allow for more complex gameplay while restricting it at times. No matter how they move forward, this will prove a challenge. And I have a video about how they are trying to solve the problem you can see here, but ultimately we'll have to see how the new model is going. It's clearly one of the bigger changes from the original pitch. On the economy side of things, originally it was commonly stated that the economy would be largely, almost completely AI-driven. This was for two main reasons. One was that players could affect the economy, but not easily crash it or overheat it in any one area without it self-correcting over time. It also allowed for players to reliably put beacons or calls for help and receive help from the simulated AI passing by, rather than waiting 3 hours for the next player in the middle of the night. I actually think they're still looking to facilitate beacons through the use of AI. This will be crucial in keeping players using the medical system and not backing out whenever they go down. If you know there's guaranteed help coming, you're more likely to wait. But things do appear to have changed. The economy seemingly will be much more player-driven now, or possibly even split into two distinct economic simulations to emphasize player feedback. This is a theory that my friend the Astro Historian has. I'm not sure, but I can see that base building, crafting, the trade, and the commerce that goes into it all will lead to more player-heavy economy one way or another. While the percentage may not change from that 10 to 90% AI to player-driven as they said before, there's bound to be more player influence going forward. As I said, base building and crafting are going to be big catalysts of the economy. Yeah, this wasn't even part of the original pitch. Actually, hold on, scratch that. We need to talk about planets first. Star Citizen's planets were going to be backdrops originally. As I said before, you would select a location on the planet to land, watch a little video, and then walk around in that location. It was almost exactly how Star Wars Outlaws works now, and reminiscent of Starfield as well. It's likely how Outer Worlds 2 will also function, and I think it's probably the best method for a casual game trying to simulate space travel. But they just had to go and add planets. Announced to be part of the game in 2014, I believe. They obviously added a lot to the scope creep of Star Citizen, but they did so surprisingly early in the project. Now, rather than just a city or two to land at, you can transition from space to ground completely in control of whatever's going on. You can drive across moons, explore caves, pick up at distribution centers, mine for minerals on the surface, salvage shipwrecks, loot outposts, or just explore the countryside. Things like flora and fauna, weather systems, jungles, grasslands, swamps, canyons, and really anything else you find across these planets would have probably existed in some way after the initial release of the game, but at least at first, there was not really much planned for explorable planetary terrain on a large scale, and it likely would have always been instant. It also obviously would not have allowed for base building and crafting. So we can get back to that now. The combined planet tech and crafting and the various mechanics needed to support them are a pretty large part of the overall scope creep that Star Citizen has seen over the years. Outposts, the factions that control them, the systems needed for them to work like power and resource networks, landing zones, their non-instanced nature, and the work that goes into making them functional. Even things like making sure all the gameplay that works in 0G also works on different levels of gravity. All of these things came because of planets and wouldn't have taken up resources to deliver from the original pitch. Similarly, base building and crafting were not part of the plan, as there was nowhere to base build. They first popped up being talked about back in 2017. If you're noticing the trend that most of Star Citizen's scope creep happened from around 2014 to 2018, you're not imagining things, they got a little wild there. But with planets, these options of base building and crafting offer huge potential for progression and growth as you play Star Citizen. While neither is a necessity to play, they have both become central to the core of the game, particularly the sandbox side of things, allowing for explorers, miners, salvagers, and refiners to get involved in the process of locating, extracting, and then using resources to make actual items being used, flown by other players in the game. For a lot of players, this is a big callback to Star Wars Galaxies, and one of the best parts of Star Citizen, but it isn't part of the original pitch. It all means that the gameplay is going to scale up as players are able to pool their resources together to benefit from more than just ships. Things like mining, refining, and cargo transportation between hubs would blossom because of this, and many of the things we've talked about here, to the more player-driven economy, to the server-meshed environment, and the player-focused game overall, all make this crafting system more central to Star Citizen and the vision that it's going for. Whether this was worth the work and time it has taken to get to this point, let alone complete, is up for debate. Wait, now it just sounds like I'm talking about the whole game. But like I've been saying, these are really about the whole game. These are pretty substantial parts of the game that have changed over the years, for better and for worse. Many players did want this kind of expansion and voted for it very early on, and still support the company in creating something that nobody else will. But many just wanted, and still want, a good space game. Now, the odd one out of this list that changed was Squadron 42. As a little bonus to those who stuck around until the end, thank you, appreciate it. Squadron 42 was originally meant to be a hop-in, hop-out co-op campaign that took place inside of Star Citizen. It was an absolutely massive project that ultimately ended up getting split up into 3 separate chapters, of which we're only just now seeing the first. It was also supposed to play similar to Demon's Souls, in that players could drop into your session to either invade an attack or team up with you to help you play. It is now a much more distinct project on its own, but after several reboots and delays, it has a lot to live up to, and we really don't know a ton about what the new vision of the game is going to look like at the time of this writing.
Alright, so the thing is, we have all the boxes loaded, obituaries empty. We could go to obituary unload and then do the ravine cornered view run, or we just go to Stanton and unload these boxes. I think we will go to Stanton and unload these boxes to have an idea how many boxes we have at the selling locations. And as you can see, we didn't really fully load it. This ship, still some empty space here, space to breathe.
And a more seamless environment. It is not the same game that was pitched, and for that reason, many will look elsewhere for the game that they want. But I leave it to you to decide for yourself if the current game being built is something you'd prefer over what was originally pitched. Now that many of these systems that have been in development for such a long time are starting to come online, and CIG is making more pointed decisions as to where the game is headed, many people are realizing this is not the game for them. And I think the more that happens, the better. Games need to make sure that they are advertising themselves and growing towards the community that they actually want, and not just everybody that they can. But if that original Star Citizen had released sometime, say, in 2016, would it have lasted this long? Would it have been possible to switch to a server-meshed environment after release? Would you be willing to give up planetary gameplay for that finished game? I think this thought experiment is interesting. I go through it a lot, but I admit I have no idea how it could have played out. Maybe it would have been drowned out by Elite Dangerous, which felt more expansive while doing mostly the same thing. Or killed off by Starfield, which, while single player, may have matched it in immersion. Or any other number of games may have popped up to compete that simply can't now because Star Citizen is such a ridiculous project that they might not even be able to do. Whatever it may have been, I'd love to see what you think in the comments. If you enjoy these thought experiments or more opinionated videos, I publish these almost every month as timed exclusives for all our supporters. You guys are what keep this channel going. Thank you so much for supporting us. These timed exclusives are our thanks to you. And if you enjoy these videos, you can find more like it here on the channel, and my longer form content like podcasts, reacts, and deep dives on my second channel, Space Tomato 2. Whatever you choose, thanks for watching this video. I hope you learned something new, and I'll catch you in the next. Star Citizen has some of the most
So, as you could see, the video from Space Tomato took 20 minutes, more or less. No, 16 minutes. No, it was 20 minutes, that video. And the real time from the loading screen, the non-existent loading screen, up to the hangar, down to Shepard's Rest, buy one batch, load everything what we had in there, basically fully loaded the Asgard, and start quantum jumping, took about 20 minutes. And we noticed, especially in the global chat, there are a lot of big mouth who claim that they make millions in an hour, per hour, whatnot. And we always say, when we got asked how much money can you make per hour when you do trading, we always respond with the same answer: we are no Catholics, we have no such thing as an hour. And some will understand or even comprehend what we say with that, but the point is, it's not about how much money you make per hour or an hour, it's how much money you can spend per hour. That is relevant when you do trading big scale like we do. And we want to show you our website. It's a small website, it's still in development, we continue doing it, it's just time intense. The website nomans.space is the website, and here we got business, Noman's business, and we do trading. On the trading we have most importantly the Noman's guide. When you go to Noman's guide, you will see a page, a website that is the video that is not finished yet. What is trading, etymologically, but also what trading is about, the strategy or principles we have. Never fly empty. Wherever you go, you never fly empty. We categorize our commodities we trading in 3 categories. One is primary commodity, low quantity, less SCU but high profit per SCU. That is prioritized. And then we have medium quantity with medium profit per SCU, secondary commodity. What we have now loaded in the ship, we have the 4 SCUs and the 2 SCUs. Pit and Boo, Sunset Berries, Dagnus Root and Golden Madman. These are all primary commodities. Low quantity means we only could buy 20 SCUs, or for Sunset Berries 10 SCUs per commodity, low quantity. But we have high profit per SCU. That means that 1 box of Sunset Berry gives us more profit than 1 box of fresh food. But the fresh food is 8 SCU. You see the point? Less SCUs, higher profit. Bigger boxes, less profit. And that is the point of having primaries and secondaries. And the other ones, the third one we call filler commodities. Most of the filler commodities are those you will trade with the hull C. Large quantity, low profit per SCU. So there are commodities you have less than 1,000 profit, not revenue, profit per SCU, less than 1,000 per SCU. And you know how many SCUs you need to deliver and sell in order to make a decent profit. That is the filler ones. And miners also know that. Now we do not know the lingo of the miners, but when you do mining, you also have El Guapo and Regolith and even Red Monster. They talk about tiers. There are tier list of commodities you can mine, minables. And even those minables we categorize as well as primary, secondary, filler. And let's say aluminum, for example, that would be a filler. Corundum would be a filler. All these... Hey, it's space race. These are commodities which you can mine or trade in large quantity but low profit. Yeah, this is a new bug in this patch. We look at that chip, but we cannot target. Okay, we do racing with, what is this? An anvil. Here we show you something. You can scan the ship inside the wormhole. And we will do a guide as well, anti-piracy. And in order to accomplish that anti-piracy guide, we need to walk in the shoes of pirates. And we will try to rip off this kind of ship, like this one in front of us, out of quantum travel inside the hole. Yeah, so we have primary, secondary, filler. We have loaded now in the ship primary and look, the distance is not 5 kilometers anymore. Is he behind us? Did we? Yeah, he's behind us. L4, come on. See, we cannot target ship. It's really interesting. Alright, so there's another thing what we want to talk about when it comes to the primary. Those commodities we chose or categorized as primary commodities, they are so low in quantity, usually players don't trade with these boxes. Some players do Atlassium, some players do Pertillium, especially a couple of weeks ago, a lot of YouTubers started to make videos about Pertillium because the profit per SEO is immense. And so we noticed that because of YouTubers, content creators or whatnot, made it publicly wide available the information that there is a commodity for max profit of 1.4 million if you do it right, for basically one trade run. And we noticed that a lot of people start doing it, a lot of people can afford it, and a lot of people start taking the risk to trade Pertillium, for example, or Atlas and whatnot. But our primary commodities, I mean, Pertillium is also a primary, Atlassium is also primary, so we do trading that. But the other aspect of a primary is also, what is the probability at the selling location that every time you go to sell the commodity, will it be out of stock? This is a key indication next quantity and price or profit if it's a primary. And that's why we jumped back to Stanton in order to showcase what we are talking about. And this is basically the business secret we are doing. We categorize the commodities, and do our trade routes, trade runs accordingly. We want to have the least amount of flight time, and if we have flight time, we never fly empty. This is absolutely crucial, otherwise it wouldn't work properly. I mean, it still would work, but then we are just the average player, I would say. Yeah, and the station turrets are our worst enemies. Next to the grievers, the station turrets are our worst enemies. Or maybe we just lack of flight skill. Yeah, 60 meters per second is for us the perfect hangar entry speed. And once we are at the door, we lower the gear, and then it slows down to new 10 meters per second, which is way too slow. And we know this is some sort of they want us to do something to manually adjust. Now we have a problem with the boxes. Yeah, maybe because we are too distracted. We are also too tired. It's already late night. We should go to bed primarily because we are really tired. We are not focused enough. Not because we talk too much. We are not focused enough. We just loaded the ship as we usually do, but we should have loaded the ship with fresh food first, because that will leave the ship last. And now we have a stupid annoying mixed bag. So we are a crew L4 here, and we deliver sunset berries and Dagnus root. And the fresh food goes to Hurston, and usually Hurston is last step, and then we go to Everest to refuel and sleep. Or we put ourselves back in space, and with back in space we mean back to Arbitrary. Claim a new ship, both the Asgard and a shuttle, if the shuttle is not available yet, and then we buy a new batch of commodities at Shepard's Rest, because it will take an hour, or maybe even more, in order to empty the ship. And that means after this 1 hour the commodity cycle is over. Means as long as no other player interact with the commodities we buy, it will be back at max inventory. And max inventory means best or second best price for that particular commodity. And because we have somewhat of the money, we do not care about the actual prices. We rather care about the inventory, and we want to have maximum, max out. Maximum inventory so that we can buy everything at one point, and either we load it, bring it to Arbitrary, store it there, or like we do just now, we bring it directly. But we only bring it directly because of the video for the streaming. Otherwise we would have brought it to Arbitrary and checked Ravine if we have commodity there. Because we know we have commodities at Carnot View. We have a huge mess here in the ship. This is suboptimal. So you can learn from our mistakes here. Load the ship according to the destination. It's basically a principle, and we do not hold on to the principle we set ourselves. Which is not good. But yeah, we are no shielders, yeah. We have no big mouth. or at least we try not to have, and that's why we show everything what's there. Truth, the real truth, and nothing but the truth. And if you think we are inefficient, yeah, that might be. If you have a specific tactic how to move boxes, let us know, either in the comment section, step into contact with us, and eventually we can have a session, and we are eager to learn. And especially when it comes to community, that's why we said before we are recruiting. We like to have people, we like to surrounding ourselves with people who know how to work. And are not shy to work. Yeah, but we already know here we totally messed up. Big time. Big time. Yeah, imagine as soon as they implement batteries for the tractor beam, then we maybe need to find a new game. Or really need to work more efficient, which is kind of sad. Then we are back in IRL, where we need to dwell as proper slaves in the system. And if you're not efficient enough, then we lose our jobs. So this is something interesting here. Yeah, five boxes, 20 SUs of Technosroot. This is really not much. But this is one batch of Technosroot from Shepard's Rest. Now we need to think a little bit, right? Fresh fruit goes out last, so we move to smaller boxes and fruit, or better said, to the rear. Otherwise we would have at several frames the same problem again. Yeah, our tiredness definitely doesn't support our doing right now. fresh food should be around 180 SUs total. Calculated right, it is something like 22 boxes. Slide 8 because 8 SU box. And that would be one batch selling at our destination. And our destination will be Pinewood. We already have boxes there. Some weird way geometry works in some way perfect when it comes to moving boxes. It's really interesting. That seems to be 22 or maybe even 23 boxes of fresh food, because then we have the whole grid filled up with fresh food, and the gridded cargo capacity of the aircraft is 180. No beauty contest. Bring it in. Alright, so what we want to show you is the freight manager. In general, it's nothing new, but here we see we have 200 or 300 SUs in total. And we want to have 600 SUs of Degner's route. And we type in here in the search deck, or Degner's, and we see Degner's route, and we see now 196 SUs of Degner's route. 400 SUs missing. Sunset. 78 SUs. Sunset Paris. Full text search. Long waited. Now since 4.3.1 implemented. They implemented these elevators outside of the hangars in the version 3.24. That is exactly 1 year ago, September somewhat or not. September last year, 24, they implemented these freight elevators and freight manager, and 1 year later, they managed to finalize this full text search. Isn't that amazing? People call that progress, yeah. We call it works as designed. And when you take 1 hour, when you take 1 year to finish something as designed after implementation, is that something telling about you? Refuel. It might be, yeah. We could have gone to Seraphim. Refuel complete.
Thank you. Please visit again.
Shields offline.
All right. Seraphim Station. Continue on our website. So we talked about the primary commodities. Key indication is low quantity, high profit per SCU. Secondary, medium quantity, medium profit. And as you could see, the fresh food is medium quantity. It's not low quantity, medium quantity. And per SCU, it is also medium compared to the other commodities. Easy. Then respect the limits of inventory. They increased the limit of inventory. It's not 1,000 SUs anymore, it's 5,000 now, which is great. We love it. And this is what we said. We want to sell all, and we will show you at Seraphim Station. Seraphim Station is a high traffic area, and we want to show you how we make our millions based on batch selling. We call it batch selling. Some would say bulk selling or whatnot. Sell all the boxes you have with one click. And that doesn't mean because it's out of stock. No. We sell all we have, and we will max out the inventory so that we can sell all, and it will be max inventory after we sold everything. Calculate inventory cycles. Yeah, usually it's 1 hour if no player interaction occurs in between that 1 hour. And this is regarding to the ships: loan before buy, rent before buy. And then, yeah, this is the general trading guide. And the other thing is what we are doing here is basically our Shepard's mass trade run. And the other thing is commodity cycle. It's on our website. What does that mean? What is a cycle etymologically? And how the cycle, how we differentiate. There's a commodity cycle, there's an inventory cycle, and how they are related together. And the clock is ticking, no matter your actions or non-actions. Oh, typing error. Is a quote from Dan that means if you are a Catholic, the hour is really, really important to you. And if you are not a Catholic, but the hour is still important to you, you are more Catholic and you don't even know it. And that's why Dan's quote is, the clock is ticking no matter your actions or non-action. We will go into that in another video. So the commodity cycles every 12 minutes, Earth clock. That means every 12 minutes will be a change. That change can be in price. The change can be in the amount of SCUs. When you sell commodities, It will be max inventory after the selling, at least when we do. And it will take 1 complete hour to be out of stock again, as long as there are no player interaction within this 1 hour. 12, that is 5 cycles. 5 multiplied 12 is 60 minutes, 1 hour. This is interesting, important to notice. So this we need to correct. And then a box configuration. When we do trading, we control the box configuration. And when you do contracts like we did for the resource drive, you have no control about the box configuration. And that is relevant when it comes to the cycle in general. Because it might be that the increase of SCUs is 1 SCU per 12 minutes, as an example. But the smallest box you can buy is 4 SCU. So you will need to wait 50 minutes in order to be able to buy 1 box, even though the changes occurred in the amount of SCU and the prices. That is the point here. Commodity and inventory, we do not go into deep. Check the website, noman.space. It's a weird it's a weird website, but you can go category trading, and here you see a lot of stuff. Commodity cycle, we just said. Principles of trading. Principle etymologically. Origin, source, beginning. Consider our principles of trading as origin, source of successful trading in the verse. NOMAN's TradeRun. The TradeRun is trading in general. Buy low prices, max inventory. Sell at high prices, out of stock. Mass trading, never fly empty. And some consideration, and this is just principles. There are 2 different kinds of trading. Normal trade runs, that is what average players do, and mass trade run is what we do. When you go back to trading category, balance score sheet instead of balance score card, we have everything what you need to know about balancing score sheet. We have a Google sheet. It's not ready to publish yet, but we will make it available for everybody for free. Here it is described how it works. The Excel, the sheet. The classification here you can read again. Primary. The amount of SCUs available is less than 100 SCUs. And the amount of SCU able to sell out of stock is also less than 100 SCUs. But we found places where we actually cannot buy more than 100, but we can sell more than 100. And the profit needs to be bigger than 1K per SCU in order to be classified or qualified as a primary commodity. And that goes for minables, harvestables, and collectibles. Secondary, 1,000 SUs. At Shepard's Rest, even fresh food would be qualified as primary location, but beside Shepard's Rest, everywhere where you can buy fresh food, it is 180 SUs. That means it's more than 100 SUs. That's why it is secondary. And also the selling location and the amount of SUs you can sell per location is everywhere more than 100 SUs for fresh food. And the profit is also bigger than 1K per SCU. So you see the main difference between the primary And the secondary, according to this classification site, is the amount of SEUs you can buy and sell. And not the profit, because both have a bigger than 1k profit per SEU. And of course the Dagnus route has way more than just 1k. It has, I don't know, 5 SEUs, 5k per SEU, I don't know. Filler quantity is always more than 1,000 SEUs, and per SEU is less than. That also goes for minables. And here's a table view. Okay, this is the classification. And Sunset Berries, for example, this site is also not finished, but Sunset Berries is a primary. You can buy it. You also can harvest if you find fields. Supply locations, you only can buy at one location, Shepherd's Rest. The max inventory, you can buy 10 SEU. Box size, the biggest, is 2 SEU. Cost per SEU, 40,000. Price per, the selling price, so that means the profit per SEU is 17k per SEU. So if we deliver 10 boxes, no, not 10 boxes, 10 SEUs, 10 SEUs, that means 5 boxes. When we deliver 5 boxes, we make 170k profit for 10 boxes. And if you would calculate effort per box or effort per SEU, then you start to realize how and why our trading guide is classified like this. And you had seen how many SEUs we have now at Cruel 4. 98 or 78? 78, probably 78 SEUs of Sunset Berries. When we manage to make it up to 100 SEUs of Sunset Berries, then we can make 1.7 mil profit for 50 boxes. Yeah, compared to Pertilium, it's a lot of effort, of course. But if you only do Pertilium, you have a loaner dependency. You rely on that nobody else but you is trading Pertilium. And that means on buying location and selling location as well. If any player interaction happens, you do not buy 30 SEUs of Pertilium, and therefore you do not make any money, while wasting time flying there, checking the terminals, and fly away because you realize there's nothing to buy. And that's why our primaries also have the probability of being out of stock at the selling location of 98%. 98% of chance or probability that at the selling location it is out of stock and you will be able to sell everything what you have inside your ship. And if you only do Pertilium, you have less than 30% chance, that is an estimation of course, less than 30% chance that you have max inventory. That means you can buy 30 SEUs to the best price there is. That probability for Pertilium is less than 30% that you have the chance to buy 30 SEUs to the best price, because too many players doing that meanwhile. Yeah. And the same goes for selling location. And the good thing about Pertilium is there are at least 3 locations where you can buy, where you can sell Pertillium. Buy only at TradeRun and sell at 3 locations. And up until now, we only sold at Ravine. And as far as we can remember, Ravine has the best price for Pertillium. That's why we sold there. That is one reason why we sold there. But the other reason why we sold at Ravine is it's opposite side of Bloom to Shepard's Rest. That means when we fly from Buena Ravine to Shepard's Rest, we do not consider that flying empty. It's just a traversal from one side to the planet to the other side of the planet. And even if the ship is empty, we do not consider it flying empty. Yeah. And so we have a route. We have the Shepard's TradeRun. And we utilize Shepard's TradeRun primarily to keep us liquid in a financial manner. And bring all the other stuff here to Stanton. And we invest all the money we have. We had 60 mil at the beginning of this patch drop, because the patch dropped too early and we lost 40 mil. And that's why we say we need to go back to 100 mil. We want to have that every crew member in our organization. We want that every crew member has 100 mil on the bank account. Because if we do large scale trading together as a crew, everybody should have the opportunity, the liquidity to be able to spend 100 mil to ask or to answer the question, how much money can you spend per hour? 100 mil available. That will be the answer. Yeah, if you're interested in, hit us up somewhere. But keep in mind, it will be hard work. It is fun somehow, but it is hard work. If you want to join our crew in the trade division, you will make 100 mil. You will, we will help you making that 100 mil, but you also will pay us for the help. Peter. 172 SCUs of Pit and Boo. We also should have 172 of Golden Madmon. No, we have a little bit more Golden Madmon here for whatever reason. And we go to the terminal to show you what we actually mean with sell all. Yeah, that's why we said Seraphim Station is a high traffic location. A lot of people coming and going here. Seraphim is a LEO station. That means Hull C also are able to dock here and do trading. We have, okay, it doesn't count for pirates, but pirates are nearby. We will say Yella, It's a Moon from Crusader, they are nearby. They will not come here to Seraphim to sell stuff. They just pirated, no. But it is a latent risk there is when you cruise around Seraphim, or Crusader for that matter, that you can stumble over pirates. Of course, you also can do that when you are in Pyro, but compared to Stanton, in Pyro, you can defend yourself, and pirates know that. So that gives you a little bit of opportunities. So we go to the commodity terminal, admin terminal. Here you see max inventory. Copper because of resource drive. Nobody buys shit here. Not even Hull C does. And the reason is pretty simple. Look at the prices. Price per SCU. The only one thing that could be lucrative, scrap. NOMAN scrap. Look at that. 10 space bucks per SCU. And imagine when you sell, even when you sell waste for 20 SCU, that would be a margin of 200%. Yeah, double the price. But how many SCUs do you need to sell in order to make even 1K in profit? Yeah, that's what we mean. That's what we mean with making money. And here you see local market value. What can we sell here? And when we have a look here, everything at Seraphim Station is out of stock. Absolutely everything. And when we look at what did we bring? We could have brought Diagnos Route, yeah. If we missed a box at Cruel 4, we could bring it here. Here at Seraphim Station, we do not get a good price, but still 22.3k per SCU. Not in profit, in revenue. But we saw, we bought all boxes at Shepard's Rest, something around 17k when it's max inventory. That means 5,000 profit per SCU of Diagnos Route. Golden Madman 21.9, rounded up 22. Also almost 5k profit per SCU, and we have 192 SCUs down there. But we want to have 600 SCUs. Multiplied by 5 is a 3 mil profit. A lot of effort, but 3 mil profit for one commodity. And here at Seraphim Station, we do not only bring Golden Magmon, we also bring Pit and Boo. Pit and Boo a little bit less profit per SCU, 4.5-ish. But we also want to bring 600. So even with 4k profit, that will be a 2.4 mil profit only for Pit and Boo. That will be 5 mil profit if we manage to bring 600 SCUs each of those commodities over here. Only here at Seraphim Station. And when we do the same calculation for Diagnos Route over at Cruel 4, that will be also a 3 mil profit for Diagnos Route. Then we are at 8 mil profit. When we consider Sunset Berries, 17k per SCU, and we want to bring 300 SCUs. Yeah, 15.3. Is that a 30 mil? 30 mil profit? We say 17k profit per SCU, and we want to deliver 300 SCU. 5.1 mil only for Sunset Berries. One commodity. But like we said, it's a primary. You only can buy 10 SCUs at a time. And the biggest box is 2 SCU. Yeah, we say it's a lot of effort. But besides Shepard's Rest, we have no risk. And next, skill issues, of course. And when we see here, if we would sell now, no, we did wrong calculation. No, this is not profit. This is revenue. We would make revenue. Yeah. Revenue, not profit. Don't get blinded. Don't get blinded by the numbers. Alright, so we go to Hurston. Deliver the rest. By the way, all this information are available on our website. As soon as the data quality is high enough, we publish. And even when data quality is not high enough, we publish anyways. So check it out, nomans.space. And the source of inspiration is uexcorp.space. They have the data, the actual data, but we analyze the data, and the data they publish is not accurate because it is player data. If we would have sold these boxes here, we could choose at what point in time we update the data set for, let's say, Pit and Boo at Seraphim Station. Do we do that before we buy, or do we do that after we sold? And depending on will be the result for UEX would be different. And if you show up half an hour later after we updated, or even better, they consolidate the data sets we enter way later, even later. That means the dataset will have probably the timestamp from the moment we click on submit, but the publishing data from what we entered will be consolidated days later or hours later at least. That means even when you read updated 2 hours ago, that is already old data. And that's why broker at the stock market, they make profit, high profit, because of fiberglass internet connections. Not because they have good handling, good instincts or whatnot, no. Because of fiberglass internet connection. And you see, response time is crucial in the business of financing. And when you use uexcorp, you have no accurate data. But nevertheless, you can use it as a source of inspiration. We will be right back, and then we will have another glance onto the website.
Quantum drive is now off.
And over at Hurston, another thing that we want to talk about, the uexcorp next to the dataset. The data they publish on their website are not accurate or not up to date. Is this one, this Cloudflare human verification. For some reason it automatically accepted it, which is weird, but that manual interaction costs us 10 seconds to get inside the website, and we haven't seen any dataset yet. 10 seconds. And remember what we said before, the stock market, the broker at the stock market, they don't make the money, or at least back then they didn't make the money because they had a good nose, as we would say in German, a good nose for what to buy, what to sell, when to sell. No, it was the ability to have the data in a 1-digit millisecond, not a 2-second, not a 2-digit millisecond, not 100 milliseconds like we have here in Star Citizen. No, 1-digit millisecond. That is why the stock market, they don't generate money, but managing money, right? And when you have a data set on uexcorp that is 2 hours old, it doesn't say anything. And that's why you need to make your own data sets and create statistics. What is the highest price or highest cost you will have? What is the lowest price you will pay when you buy commodities? Check inventory status. What is the inventory status? How many SUs are there to what price? And then you will find out that within the same amount of SUs available, price can change 4 times before an increase of SU will happen during the commodity cycles. And then you have the information you need to have in order to be able to trade properly, IRL and in the verse. Yeah, the Shepard's mass trade run, is that what we are doing here, or part of it? Yeah, Cruel 4 destination, Dagnus route, Sunset Berries we delivered. We loaded the box, we loaded the boxes, not good. And here you will see, if you sell 30 batches, 13 mil of revenue. Two and a half batches. Yeah, this is only one batch selling. If we deliver 600 SCU, that will be one batch selling. 13.3 mil revenue. We had been to Seraphim Station. One batch selling means 600 SCUs of pit bamboo. 12 mil or 13 mil of revenue, not profit, revenue. One batch selling of Golden Madmon, 13 mil of revenue. Yeah. Now we are on Hurston. And when we deliver 2 batches of buying, we can sell one batch is 180 SCU. We can only buy 90 SCU. That means we need to buy 2 times in order to sell one batch. And with one batch we can make 4 mil. Yeah, and now we are here. Hurston. Pinewood. And we will see how many SUs we will have here. too fast. At least gear is down. Can we refuel here? Yeah. All the fresh food goes out here. And yes, if it would be for efficiency and we would be a crew, when we would do crewing, sometimes we do, we wouldn't come with the Ascot. We wouldn't come with the Ascot to crew L4. We wouldn't come to Seraphim Station with the Ascot. We wouldn't go to Pinewood with the Ascot. No, we will come with either the C2 or the M2. CIG took away, they stole our M2, even when it was claimed, retrieved and stored at our primary location. We lost the ship. 30 mil, they stole 30 mil of energy. We invested, yeah. And now you had seen how many boxes we need to transfer in order to make a revenue of, not a profit, a revenue of. And the reason why we have on our website the revenue listed as we just shown before is when you spend 100 mil and you have in total 120 mil of revenue, we made 20 mil profit. And you can consider that as PvE gameplay. Can consider that as PvE gameplay, trading in the verse like we do, mass trading, trade runs and whatnot. It is non-violent unless we get pirated or even grieved. Then violence is involved, and when it's proper pirates, we are forced to defend ourselves, and yeah, violence is involved, but it's not every time. Like today, we had been at Shepard's Rest. We spent 20 minutes, or more or less 20 minutes, loading on the spot, alone, single, no issue. It doesn't happen all the time. So you have a gameplay if you decide to do that. And we are completely aware that moving boxes all the time is somewhat monotone, and at some point it will be boring because it's always the same thing. We are totally aware and we agree on that. Sometimes it is boring, sometimes we are absolutely not keen on moving more boxes, and then we do something else. And luckily Star Citizen offers a lot of other activities beside moving boxes. Yeah, for us primarily, when we feel we need to have a variation in our gameplay, then we play the game. We do contracts, running in circles, doing a game loop. And that would be either a bunker for having a proper shoot and loot session, going to the Onyx facility now, have a different different experience in shoot and loot. And when you manage to get this ASD armor, then you can do player trading. That would be PvP trading in the verse, and that is lucrative. But the effort to get a complete set of ASD is also repeating. You need to go to the Onyx facility. Either you find one or you have a contract. You need to go there. You need to run the spots, find the orange boxes where you have a RNG, random number generated probability to find an ASD armor piece inside one of these boxes. And if you want to have ASD sets on a regular basis, then you do the same thing like we do with boxes, but only in the Onyx facility. And even that would be boring at one point of time, and then you need to do something else. What we do, of course, yeah, we do contracts every now and then when we play a so-called video game. But there's other stuff, like what we like to do is mining. No contracts. Also high effort. We would even say it is a hobby to us, and it is an expensive hobby in some way. And when we do mining, we do not do mining for the sake of making money. No. When we do mining, we do it in the sake of data analysis. And of course, making profit, definitely, but most of the time it's not for the money. Yeah, that's why we are thinking about the Arastra. It is an expensive virtual spaceship, 600, more than 600 IRL they want to have for that thing. But we are not that keen on mining. But we are not sure if we are willing to sell ships, start selling ships. So here, Pinewood, we have 488 SEUs of fresh food, but we only can sell 180 at the time. And we will have a check if the ship is definitely empty. Because sometimes, as you can see, light is not that good here. And when you come from the outside, yeah, this would be dark. Even when it's lit up, sometimes we miss boxes. So if fresh food is out of stock, it is, but it's only 20. 20k per SU, this is too less. Highest price is 22 something. That is 2k, 2000 more profit, revenue. 2k more revenue per SEU. And the problem with fresh food, we will do a video with the dilemma of fresh food. And do we have that on our website already? No. No, we don't have the dilemma. Tags. No, the site dilemma we don't have published yet. We have 4 selling locations here on Hurston. That is a good thing. You have 4 opportunities to sell. But either 1 or 2 of these locations has 22k per SEU you can get when you sell. And that is depending on the region and the shard. If you have the 22k here on Pinewood. And now it looks like as if we are not on the shard. Display info. We are here on a US server. On a low pop shard, relatively low pop, 234. We haven't seen any player yet. Since we logged in, we haven't seen any player yet. Not at all. Not even at Seraphim Station. Yeah, and the problem is here now, as you can see. We have 500 SEUs of fresh food here at Pinewood, but we have a bad price. We are on a US server. If you create your own dataset, if we would create our own dataset, we would start protocol or log on what region, in what region we have what price, in order to find out which of the region always has high price here at
Landing engines offline.
Pinewood. And we try here something what we usually don't do. Why is the fucking reopen? We closed all doors. Maybe it is because we automatically pressed toggle open all door when we entered the ship, as we usually do. So bad logging in the Asgard. It's kinda tricky. Here. Yeah, this is Star Citizen. Maybe we are still too close. How we can verify? No, we are not too close. We could. But for some stupid reason we cannot bad log. Maybe it's we are too fat. Sometimes the armor is the problem. Maybe the bed is the problem. No idea. Is it the bed? Is it armor? No idea. So this was an US server. We connected to one of our friends. And now we want to have a check. He's definitely not on the same shot as we had been. And we missed the party invitation. Alright, so we are up here. What the heck? What is that? Asian? Is it Asian server?
Anvil Aerospace. All systems online. Takeoff complete.
Yeah, here's a ground vehicle. Australia. So we are Australia. There's another ship to the left.
Landing complete.
Okay. So, Australia. Minutes later. You are still on the live stream. Even when you watch the video afterwards, you can check the... See? Australia 21. It's 1k more in revenue per SU here. Still the same 400. When we would sell, we would make 3.6, 3.7 in revenue, not profit. But when you see this number, and we would do that a couple of times, we would be easily back on 30 SUs. And we still have boxes that cannot view laying around.
Engines offline. Engines online. Takeoff complete. Landing gear raised. All systems offline.
Okay. What are we doing? Lower bed. Yeah, seems to work. This sound was weird. That sounded like as if engines are back on. So we choose best, should be European, but we also know we are definitely on a different chart. And what do we get? Universe time, they say. Can we show you? We can show you probably. This is what we see. Can you see it as well? Fit to screen. Preview scaling. can see now. Here top right you can see EU. We are on EU now. And you see in the global chat they're texting French and German.
Aerospace. All systems online.
Desert. Yeah, they are different kind of. Yeah, but they have the eggs. There are these animals, they have no eggs, but they have tongues.
Landing gear raised. Landing gear deployed.
Yeah, 10 meters per second is too slow.
Landing. All systems offline.
EU server also. (21). We could wait for 12 minutes if we haven't already with this logging in and out. What do we have? Asia. We haven't seen Asia. We had been on US server because might be it is 21 or less because some player sold boxes more or less 1 hour ago, and that's why it is back on max inventory or out of stock rather say, but the price is still not the best. But we also know there are 4 locations and you have definitely 3 different prices.
Anvil Aerospace. All systems
And we had seen now 2 prices.
landing gear raised. Landing gear deployed. All systems offline.
Okay. What didn't we check yet? Asia. Asia, we haven't checked Asia. We have European now, not because we chose European region. We have EU server because we chose best. And best is usually either load balancing in sessions in chart or milliseconds in response, or even just because of the IP address, because you are not allowed to use VPN in order to start Star System with this, which is a bullshit. But yeah, with this control, with the hunger of control, everything in aspects, we will have no free internet anyways. So Asia, and we will check that, and then we are done for today. It is already a 2-hour session, and we haven't done much. We just brought boxes from Shepard's Rest, loaded the Asgard, And now you also see why we want to fill up the M2 or C2. We will have the same stops. We will probably spend a little bit more time on these stops because we have more boxes. We probably would spend even 3 hours, but we don't move something like 300 SEUs. No, we will then move 1,000. Look, we are back on the same server. We are back on the same server like before. Apela. With the ground vehicle. We do not expect a different price here. Not even 12 minutes since we checked the last. $1 mil for a red arm, that is an abundance. Yeah, not a good price. Okay, so we are done here. We will do timestamps. Thanks for watching. See you next time.